Space Band, Part 1 by Tom Fletcher. Intro. I'm George Rackett. I play bass guitar. And this is Neela. She plays guitar. This is Bash. He plays the drums. And together we are the Earthlings, the best band in the universe. We never meant to become intergalactic rock stars, or to save the world from being pulverized by evil aliens using only the power of music. It just sort of happened. We weren't always super awesome, guitar shredding, drum soloing, music legends either. In fact, before we were unexpectedly beamed up into outer space, we were actually pretty awful, and I don't mean just a bad band, we totally sucked. I'm serious, our own parents couldn't even pretend to like the noises that leaked out of our garage, the place where we rehearsed every day after school, and parents are supposed to like everything their kids do. We were so bad that our neighbours moved house, and our neighbours' neighbours, and even their neighbours too. I bet you're thinking, how did the worst band in the world become the best band in the universe? I guess it all began on the day I started writing my own songs and decided to put them all down in a book. This book, in fact, the book you're about to read. So turn the volume up to infinity and get ready to rock and roll out of this solar system. It's time for liftoff. Track 1, The Book of Rock. Name, George Rackett. Subject, rock and roll. Teacher, life. Welcome to the book that's going to change my life. That's right, this is the book. The book that's going to turn me, George Rackett, from the ordinary, slightly shorter than average 10-year-old into a super awesome international rock star. Okay, I know on the outside this book looks like a normal school exercise book, and it kind of is. I borrowed it from the classroom supply cupboard, but that's just a clever disguise. It will be on these very pages, where boring equations and snorefest theories would normally be written, that I shall write my masterpiece of musical awesomeness. This, my first ever songbook. No, hang on, songbook sounds a bit rubbish. My first ever music book. Nope, wait, I've got it, my book of rock. To be honest, I'm not quite sure how to write songs yet, but my musical idol, rock legend Max Riff, lead singer of the Comets, once said, "The greatest songs are based on real experiences, dude. Live, write, rock." Live, write, rock. If that worked for Max Riff, it can work for George Rackett. So I've decided I should start writing down everything that happens to me. That's right, everything. Starting now. Okay, let's see. I'm in the most boring lesson at Grayville School, Mr. Lloyd's science class. He's got his usual white lab coat on and his hair looks like a science experiment itself. I don't think he really needs to wear a lab coat in class. It'd be a bit like our history teacher, Mr. Bygone, dressing like Henry VIII, or our maths teacher, Mrs. Spearing, dressing like a calculator, or Miss Feather, our art teacher, dressing like a pencil. Mr. Lloyd is writing something on the board, something about space, but no one is listening, because they're saying there's something way more interesting going on. There's a pigeon on the windowsill, an actual pigeon, just staring right at Danica Chowdhury. No, wait, it just flew away. It's flying over the car park and, ew, gross, it just did its business on Mr. Lloyd's car. Ooh, this has to be turned into a song. Pigeon, by George Rackett. Fly away, pigeon. Coo, coo, coo. Is it going to fly over? You, ooh, ooh. Flying is what pigeons do. I think I just saw it do a doo-doo. Do-do-do, I think I just saw it do a do-do-do. I think a pigeon did a do-do-do, 'cause every pigeon loves a do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do on you. Whoop, that's one song in my book of rock. Strong start. The bar has been set high. This is going well, right? We'll have an album in no time. What else is happening? Oh, it's starting to rain, which probably means we'll all have to stay inside at lunch. Rubbish. Don't get me wrong, I love staying inside at lunch. That's what I always try to do. While everyone else rushes outside to play footy or dodgeball, I get the music room all to myself for an hour and can shred some sick riffs on the school guitar, in between eating my cheese and Marmite sandwich. Okay, so it's not the best guitar in the world, but any guitar is better than no guitar. I'd way rather stay inside and play that plank of wood with strings than be picked last for the football team again, or get whacked in the face with a cold dodgeball. But on wet days, everyone has to stay inside, and I can forget all about getting the music room to myself. Most of the other kids muck about with the instruments as though they're just toys. Last week, Dylan Bodkins was using the guitar like a bow and arrow, pulling back the strings to fire drumsticks across the room. Let me tell you something right now. A guitar is not a toy. It is precious. A finely crafted tool used by the most fearless warriors alive, musicians. Okay, let's see. What else can I write about in my book of rock? The science room smells a bit funny, like vinegar, but not the good kind of vinegar that you put on battered sausage and chips from Fred's, my favourite chippy. Ooh, think I might have that one for dinner tonight. It's more like the kind of vinegary liquid that scientists use to pickle gross things in jars. Some people reckon Mr. Lloyd has got a jar of real human eyeballs in the store cupboard, and that's where the smell comes from. Wait, what rhymes with sausage? Porridge? Orange? Squash it? Nothing rhymes with sausage. Not sure if this story is going to make a good song, but it's worth a try. Pickled Eyes, Nothing Rhymes with Sausage by George Rackett. Eyes in the dark, looking for the light, smelling kind of funny, giving me a fright. Vinegar is great when it's on a sausage, but in a jar of eyes. Nothing rhymes with sausage, nothing rhymes with sausage, nothing rhymes with sausage, nothing rhymes with sausage, nothing rhymes with it. Eyes in a jar make me feel sick, looking through the glass, bring a bucket quick. Wish I didn't eat the chips and battered sausage, it tasted really good, but nothing rhymes with sausage, nothing rhymes with sausage, nothing rhymes with sausage, nothing rhymes with sausage, nothing rhymes with sausage. No way! What about orange? No way! Does it rhyme with porridge? No way! Could it rhyme with storage? No way! Nothing rhymes with sausage, nothing rhymes with sausage, nothing rhymes with sausage, nothing rhymes with sausage, nothing rhymes with it. I don't think it'll make the album, but it just goes to show that Max Riff was right. You can write a song about anything. If I keep writing it all down, the good, the bad, and the vinegary, soon I'll have a book of songs that will rock the socks off the whole world. Ooh, now that sounds like a song too. Rock the Socks Off the World by George Rackett. A rock song don't have to make sense to understand it. The world don't have to wear any socks, 'cause it's a planet. But if it did wear socks, I think that they would be big ones. Really big ones. From the ground up to the sky, and that's why we're gonna rock the socks. Rock the socks off the world. Let's rock the socks off all the boys and the girls. Rock the socks off your mum and dad and all your brothers and sisters. Gonna rock those socks so bad, you're gonna get rock and roll blisters. Let's rock the socks. Rock the socks off the world. He's rocking them off. Rock the socks off the world. He's rocking them off. Rock the socks off the world. Wow, those lyrics just flew into my head out of nowhere, like I had to write them down. I think Max Riff calls it inspiration, or maybe it's perspiration. I can't remember. It's definitely something spiration. Anyway, I suppose that might start happening all the time now that I'm writing my life down in search for songs for my band. Oh yeah, I didn't even finish telling you about my band. I guess I should write a little introduction about who we are. This calls for a new page. Track 2, The Earthlings. That's our band name, The Earthlings. And here's our logo, designed by me. There are 3 of us in the band, me, Bash and Neela. First up, on the drums, we have Bash. Bash isn't his real name. His real name is Barry Bashar. Why do we call him Bash? Well, he just really likes boshing things when he was little, so much so that Bash was actually his first word. So his mum started calling him Bash, and the name stuck like gum on a shoe, and he's been called Bash ever since. One day, Bash's mum and dad had enough of all their nice things getting smashed by Bash, and they brought him a drum kit. Well, that was a game changer. Finally he had something that he was allowed to bash, something to focus all his best bashing energy on. The funny thing is, he's not really into music. Sure, Bash loves banging out a rock song because he gets to hit things and make loud noises without being told off. But what Bash is really into is space. If I'm a music nerd, then he's a total space geek. It all started about a year ago when he thought he saw a UFO crash in the woods, through his bedroom window. I know. Ever since then, Bash has been obsessed with space and science fiction and totally ridiculous, unrealistic stories about aliens destroying Earth, which explains some of the band name suggestions that he submitted for consideration. What about the Death Rays? No. The Laserheads? Absolutely not. What about King Sunaru? Sunaru? That sounds pretty cool. What does it mean? It's Uranus backwards. King Uranus? No. Then one day he insisted we watch this old black and white sci-fi movie about a bunch of really fake-looking aliens who beamed up a load of people from Earth and called them Earthlings. That's it, Bash cheered. What's it? I said. Our band name. I've got it. What planet do we come from? Well, I'm from Earth. I'm not sure about you, though, I replied. Right, we're from Earth, so we are... I blinked back at him without the foggiest idea what he meant. We are Earthlings. That's our band name. The Earthlings, he said triumphantly. Well, after reading his list of other suggestions, including the Gassy Giants and Hubble Trouble, I figured the Earthlings was the best of a bad bunch. I won't lie, I didn't really like it at first, but Bash said, I'm only going to play drums in this band if I get to name it, and we really needed a drummer, so I had no choice. From then on, Bash was in the band and we were officially called the Earthlings. Now he never leaves the house without a pair of drumsticks in his hands, plus a few spare pairs in his trusty backpack, just in case he rocks too hard and breaks one, along with a bunch of dorky space magazines. Right, that's enough about him. Next is our face-melting, riff-shredding, eardrum-popping lead guitarist, Neela. Neela is an onion. Not literally, obviously, that'd just be weird. What I mean is that Neela's complicated. She's surprising. Like a planet, she's got layers. The first thing you see when you look at Neela is her lucky hat, which she never takes off. Under that is a puff of fringe that always gets in her eyes. That's the crust. Then comes the mantle, when you get to know her a little better. That's when you find out that she loves broccoli, but she doesn't like chocolate. Not even my favourite chocolate-covered peanut butter cups. I know. Then, when you get to the outer core, you discover that Neela is super smart. Seriously, she's full of nerdy knowledge that she'll probably never use, like the 7 times table and what S is on the periodic table. It's sulphur, by the way, the stuff that makes that bum gas smell. But underneath all those layers, Neela's inner core is made of pure rock and roll. The only problem is that she's just a little scared to let it out. The rock and roll, not the bum gas. Neela only started at Greyville School a year ago, after moving here from another town. It's always hard starting a new school and making new friends, but Neela didn't help herself. For example, she always sat right at the front of every class. In fact, she's still sitting there at this very moment, right under Mr. Lloyd's hairy nose. There's no way I'd get away with writing my book of rock if I was sitting next to Neela in the front row. The front row is for kids who are going places. One place in particular, the prize-giving ceremony at the end of term, where all the parents get invited and Miss Feather gets too emotional and cries. Neela is definitely a prize-winning kind of kid, and I'm definitely not, so we weren't always the BFFS we are today. But that all changed one lunch break a couple of months ago. I was heading for the usual empty music room, but as I got closer to the door, I could hear there was already someone inside. Someone playing the most earth-shattering riffs I've ever heard. I had to find out who it was, so I did the obvious thing. I hid. My cover was blown when the bell rang for the end of lunch, and I saw Neela sneaking out of the room and back to class. I was so stunned that I fell into the fire extinguisher. Hi, I'm George. Will you be in my band, please? Okay. So that's Bash and Neela, which just leaves me. I play the bass guitar. Bass rhymes with ace or race, not pass or class, just in case you're wondering. The bass is like a normal guitar, except it only has 4 strings, and it sounds, well, the sound it makes is super low. I decided to become a bass player because I thought learning 4 strings would be easier than 6, but I was way wrong. The 4 bass strings are like thick metal worms, and when I first started to play, my fingers were all blistered and looked super gross. I almost gave up, but then I remembered what Max Riff once said, if you never give up on music, music will never give up on you. So I didn't give up on music. I stuck with it, and one day I woke up and found that the ends of my fingers had gone hard, rock hard, like those fake plastic thumbs you get in the magic shop. They're called calluses, Mum explained when I ran downstairs to show her. I like to call them my rock fingers. From then on, I could rock out as hard as I wanted without my fingers feeling as if they were on fire. The only downside is that I can't really feel anything with the tips of my fingers anymore. Seriously, I think they're pretty much indestructible. My bass guitar is my favourite thing in the whole universe. It was my birthday present last year, and I still can't believe it's mine. It's a Fender P bass. The P stands for precision, which my dad says is ironic when I play it, whatever that means. And the colour is cosmic green. I think it's called that because it has all these little sparkly bits in the paint that catch the light like stars and look so awesome. I wanted to get cosmic green glasses to match, but Mum said sparkly green glasses are not appropriate for school. I know. To top off the killer paint job, I've paired it with a black strap that has a white lightning bolt zapping down the front like it's being struck with 1,000 volts of pure electricity. Pow! It's just like the one that Max Riff used to play before he smashed it up at the end of the legendary concert. It broke into 1,000 pieces and looked like an explosion of stardust. I've got a poster of the moment he did it on my bedroom wall. Smashing a guitar is probably the most rock and roll thing anyone could ever do. But there's no way I'd ever do that to my Cosmo. Not in a million light years. Oh yeah, that's my guitar's name, Cosmo. And don't even get me started on the sound. It's like a cross between a sports car revving its engine and a rocket launching into space, deep and growly. Well, that's what it's supposed to sound like, but I've only been playing for a few months, so sometimes it sounds a bit flappy. Bash says it's a bit like an elephant's bum after it's been eating baked beans. but I'll keep practicing. I'll never give up on music. Anyway, that's my band. The Earthlings had assembled, and we're ready to rock the stage, although technically we've not rocked out on an actual stage yet, just my parents' garage. But that's all about to change. Tomorrow, when we enter Greyville School's Battle of the Bands. It's going to be our first ever show in front of a real live audience. It's a little terrifying, but totally worth it, because the first prize is tickets to see Max Riff and the Comets on Saturday night. That's right, Max Riff and the Comets are in town for one night only, this Saturday. The tickets sold out in a record-breaking 3 seconds, so this is our only shot at being at that show. To be honest though, I don't think we stand much of a chance of winning. I mean, all the other bands are way older than us and have been playing for much longer. Plus, when we were rehearsing in the garage this week, Dad said we sounded like a car wash. Seriously, he actually thought a car had crashed into the garage and called the police. So, I guess that means we're probably not the best band in the world. Yet. Still, I bet we're not the worst. There's got to be a band on the planet that sucks more than us, right? Okay, Mr. Lloyd is making us copy something down from the board. I better do it, or I'll get into trouble. Don't worry though, there are more songs to come after this short break for some science. Track 3. The Minerva 7. In 1985, a unique rocket was launched into space from Earth, carrying on board some of the most precious cargo known to mankind, as well as a number of top-secret scientific experiments. Blah, blah, blah. Science lessons can be so boring and so long. If this lesson was a song, it would be the longest song ever. Wait, that's given me an idea for a song. The Longest Song Ever by George Rackett. It's the longest song, it goes on and on. You can sing this song forever, forever. The longest song, it goes on and on. When will this song end? Never. The longest, longest, longest song. The longest, longest, longest song. So long. The longest, longest, longest song. This is the longest song. Longest, longest, longest song. The longest, longest, longest song. The longest, longest, longest song. This is the longest song. On and on it goes, and on it goes. Goes on and on, it goes on and on. Repeat entire song forever. This whole lesson is useless to me anyway. I'm going to be a rock star. I'm never going to need to know anything about space. Bash is sitting a few seats away from me, and he could not look more excited. I don't know why he finds it all so fascinating. It's all quantum this, light year that. Although 7. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it turns out there is something pretty cool about the Minerva 7. Listen to this. According to Mr. Lloyd, the rocket's main mission objective was to carry a satellite into orbit that would then zoom off into deep space. Okay, so that might not sound too exciting, but get this. On board that satellite was music. And it was every type of music you can imagine, from classical to hip-hop, opera to blues, reggae to rap, pop to punk. It was a musical snapshot of life on planet Earth. NASA, that's the National Aeronautics and Space Administration in America, the space super nerds who are in charge of sending rockets up into the cosmos, hope that one day aliens, I know, might discover it. But here's where it gets super awesome. NASA also had a brand new top secret song written especially for the mission. NASA wanted a song that would give any alien life out there an idea of what it means to live on this planet. So they called up a popular music group of the time, Mr. Lloyd said, cleaning his glasses. A music group? Do you mean a band? Asked Neela. Yes, a band, he confirmed. My ears pricked up. A band. Music. This science class was getting interesting all of a sudden. Mr. Lloyd, what band? I asked. Mr. Lloyd paused for a moment and looked at me, frowning slightly. I could understand why he was confused. This was the first time I'd ever asked a question in his class. Oh, they were from the 80s, George. Long before you lot were born. I doubt any of you have heard of them, Mr. Lloyd said. Try me, I said. I might not have been around in the 80s. Even my mum and dad were only just around in the 80s. But when it comes to music, that's my era. Well, funnily enough, the band has a space-themed name too. Perhaps that's one of the reasons NASA picked them. The lead singer was called Max. Max Riff, I yelled. Mr. Lloyd looked at me in astonishment. Yes, Max Riff and the Comets. You've heard of them? Dylan Bodkins laughed. Course we've heard of Max Riff and the Comets. Who hasn't? They're total legends, sir, Danica added, pointing to a Max Riff badge pinned to her school bag, next to a cool shiny red one. Well, I've never really understood the point of music, but I suppose they do have the odd catchy tune or two, Mr. Lloyd said. Yeah, they're only like the greatest band on the planet, Mr. Lloyd, Bash said. And off the planet too, Neela added, pointing to the diagram of the Minerva 7 on the board. So you're telling me that there's a Max riff in the Comet song that I've never heard? I had to double check. Correct, George. In fact, no one on Earth has ever heard it. It was written and recorded in top secret in a state-of-the-art recording facility deep underground at NASA. Mr. Lloyd explained with a twinkle in his eye. Then the song was loaded into the satellite and straight onto the Minerva 7, ready to be launched into space, so that one day it might be discovered by extraterrestrial life. I felt my mouth drop open. Well, my mind was blown. Science just got a whole lot more awesome. Bash was grinning at me. It was a bit like he was saying, "See, I told you so." And I had to admit, I almost wanted to rethink my whole future career choice from rock star to astronaut, just so I could go out and listen to that Max Riff song for myself. But why did no one from Earth ever get to listen to it? I asked. Ah, that's the most fascinating part of this story, Mr. Lloyd said excitedly. Once the Minerva 7 arrived at its destination, the secret new song was going to be transmitted down to Earth, all the way from space. But NASA lost contact with the Minerva 7 shortly after it left the Earth's atmosphere. And so to this day, no one knows what happened to it. I felt my mouth drop open again. They lost it. Yeah, that's right. They lost a giant space rocket. Mr. Lloyd explained that 1 minute was there, a little blip, blip, blip on the radar, heading out into the solar system and then gone. Pretty careless if you ask me. I mean, rockets are massive, aren't they? Imagine being the scientist in charge of a huge, whopping great gravity-defying rocket ship, then losing it the second it reaches space. But if losing a multi-million-dollar space rocket wasn't bad enough, the real tragedy is the unheard Max riff and the Comet song that was lost with it. Hang on. Mr. Lloyd just hit us with some more knowledge that puts an extra twist on this mysterious disappearing rocket. The Minerva 7 wasn't just carrying a satellite full of music. There was something else on board, or someone. Okay, Mr. Lloyd is now doing the thing where he doesn't tell us the answer until after break. He likes leaving us on a cliffhanger so that we actually want to come back to class, find out what happens. This might work on Bash every time, but it has never once worked on me before. Until today. I want to know who was on that rocket. Can you imagine being on a space rocket, then losing communication with ground control and drifting off into space? A total loner in the universe, with no one to bother you and nothing to keep you company, but an endless supply of the world's greatest music. That sounds awesome. Loner by George Rackett. It's quiet in the universe, no chorus, middle, eight or verse, and things are only getting worse. I'm alone, so alone. It's silent in the Milky Way, E.T. isn't on his way. No one's coming out to play. I'm alone, so alone. I'm the loner of the universe. Turn the radio up on this rocket. No one else around can stop it. Not a soul is passing me by. I'm a shooting star in the sky, 1,000,000 miles away from the home, halfway across the universe, and I'm alone. I travelled into outer space. I haven't seen a friendly face. I guess I'm an acquired taste. I'm alone, so alone. I'm the loner of the universe. On my own, I'm on my own. I'm alone, yeah, I'm alone. I'm on my own, I'm alone. I'm alone, yeah, I'm alone. I'm on my own, I'm on my own. I'm alone, yeah, I'm alone. It's quiet in the universe. One small step and I'm the first to sing a chorus, middle, eight and verse. I'm alone, so alone. I'm alone. Track 4. Disaster at break time. It was the dreaded wet break time I'd feared, and I'd raced to the music room as soon as I'd finished scribbling down the lyrics to Loner. Neela and Bash were waiting for me. Unfortunately, about half the school was there too. We found a quiet corner and I showed them my new song. Song about space, yeah, cried Bash happily. Phew, those lyrics are awesome, George, Neela said. Double phew. Then she picked up the school guitar to start figuring out the chords. And there's a solo for me. Here's where it all went wrong. Just as I finished reading the last chorus, I realised that someone was standing close by, earwigging in on our conversation, and that someone was Alfie Biffson. Alfie Biffson is in year 6 and has a band too. They're called the Boneheads, and I used to think that they were the most super awesome band in the whole world, apart from Max Riff and the Comets, obviously. Before I had my own band, I would secretly watch the Boneheads rehearse in the music room and wish that I could be in their band. I even thought that wish might come true once. Their bass player left Grayville to go to boarding school, and the Boneheads were holding auditions for a replacement. I went to the audition ready to show them what I could do, but when I got there, everyone else was at least a year older and a foot taller than me. Hi, I'm here to be your new bass player, I said, with what I thought was the perfect balance of politeness and confidence. Alfie took one look at me and burst out laughing. The guitar is bigger than he is, he howled, and all the other boneheads started laughing too. This isn't a baby band. The nursery auditions are tomorrow. Can Ickle Bussy Wacy Boy use his alphabet? Needless to say, I didn't get into the band. That was the day I stopped listening to the Boneheads. Unfortunately, everyone else at school thinks the Boneheads are the best thing since sliced bread, and all because they won Greyville School's Battle of the Bands last year. But that's probably because... Oh yeah, that's the other reason I'm not sure we're in with much chance of winning this contest. Probably the biggest reason, the head judge. The head judge is our music teacher, and our music teacher is, drum roll please, Mr. Biffson, also known as Alfie's dad. I know! For the past year, Alfie has walked around like he thinks he's a true rock star, with slick back hair that always looks as if he's just got out of the shower. I don't know about you, but when I get out of the shower, my mum makes me dry my hair properly. So anyway, nice little poem you've written there, Specs. Alfie scoffed at me while putting his fingers around his eyes, pretending they were glasses. Hilarious! It's not a poem, it's a song, I snapped back at him. Silence fell around us as if someone had just vacuumed up the sound in the music room with a giant Henry Hoover. Alfie's Boneheads bandmates suddenly appeared out of nowhere, all sporting the exact same slicked back, sticky-looking haircut, as if someone had dropped a tub of hair gel into a cloning machine. Oh, so the baby bass player is a baby songwriter now too, Alfie said, with a fake impressed expression on his face. Yeah, and we're going to win this year's Battle of the Bands, Bash said, appearing by my side. There was a moment of silence, then all the Boneheads burst into uncontrollable laughter. You win the Battle of the Bands! Make sure your mummy changes your nappy before you play. Neela hid her face behind her long, curly, jet-black fringe, as if she was closing the curtains on the world, and slid behind me. Alfie called for his Boneheads to be quiet and said, Well, go on then. Go on what? I asked. Sing us one of your amazing songs. My heart felt like Bash was playing a drum solo in my chest. The thought of performing in front of actual people was awesome. This could be our first ever gig outside my parents' garage, the moment we've been waiting for. Were we ready? Nope. Would we suck? Maybe. Was I going to miss a chance to rock out in front of an actual crowd? No way. All right, I will, I said, face to face with Alfie. Well, it was more my face to his chest. Lead singer to lead singer. Bash grabbed a tambourine from the box of percussion instruments and gave us a nod. Ready? Neela, are you ready to play? I whispered, turning around this very book of rock so we could see the chords to Loner scribbled on the page. Neela looked down. I don't know if I can. So, I know we're in a band and playing in front of thousands of people is what we dream about every night. But Neela gets this funny feeling in her stomach whenever we try to play in front of people, and it was happening to her now. It's like I've been zapped with a freeze ray, she hissed through clenched teeth. I've looked it up before and it's called stage fright, which I think is a silly name for it. She's not scared of the stage. It's the audience watching her that she finds scary. It should be called audience fright. Come on, Neela, I know you can do it, I whispered, and Bash nodded. As she nervously pulled the frayed strap of the school guitar over her head with trembling hands, I could sense the weight of the splintered wood weighing down on her shoulders. What's the matter? Aren't you going to play the song? Scoffed Alfie. Neela just stared at the guitar, as though she was desperately trying to play it with the power of her mind. You can do this, Neela. Think of it like a warm-up for the Battle of the Bands, Bash said. Yeah, show them how awesome you are, I whispered. The kids around us were starting to whisper and giggle as Neela placed her fingers on the tired strings and gave me a tiny, terrified nod. Ready? I closed my eyes, took a breath, and counted us in. 1, 2, 3. Ring, 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 ring. The school bell blasted around the room. Break was over. Saved by the bell, Alfie scorned. We'll see you at the battle. Yeah, may the best band win, I called after him as he and his boneheads left the room, and we all headed back to class in silence. Track 5, Armstrong. Neela could barely look at me and Bash as we walked back into Mr. Lloyd's classroom. It's okay, we'll head straight to the garage and practice again after school, and I started to call over to her, but then Mr. Lloyd clapped his hands for quiet. In all the drama of Wet Break, I'd almost forgotten the cliffhanger he'd left us on, the mystery of the someone who was on board the Minerva 7 when it disappeared. It turned out to be the saddest part of the space story, and Mr. Lloyd dropped it on us with no warning. Get your tissues ready. I now know who my song Loner is about, because there was indeed an astronaut on board the Minerva 7. Not a human astronaut, a chimp. Armstrong, the astro ape. Mr. Lloyd put a photo of him on the board that was taken just before launch. Here's my copy of it. Poor little guy. Mr. Lloyd, why was a chimp allowed on a spacecraft in the first place? Asked Bash. Mr. Lloyd nodded. Good question. Armstrong was on board as an experiment. NASA wanted to test whether chimpanzee astronauts could perform simple space tasks. Armstrong's mission was to press a button once the rocket had reached orbit that would safely release the payload. You mean the satellite containing all the awesome Earth music and stuff? Yes, George, the satellite containing all the awesome Earth music and stuff, said Mr. Lloyd, smiling. Then the Minerva 7 would return little Armstrong back to Earth. Unfortunately, as we found out before break, that never happened. The rocket vanished along with everything on board, including little Armstrong the astro ape. The whole class was pretty quiet for the rest of Mr. Lloyd's lesson. I could tell we were all thinking about Armstrong. I wonder what happened to him and that rocket full of awesome music. Mr. Lloyd explained that some people believe that the ship broke apart in the upper atmosphere. Others think it could have drifted into deep space. Whatever happened, it must have been terrifying. Who knows? Maybe little Armstrong managed to unbuckle his harness, climb out of his seat, take the controls to the rocket, crank up the volume on some of that Earth music on board, and speed off across the Milky Way on his own space adventure. Maybe even to discover his own planet. Yeah, I'm just going to tell myself that's what happened. I think I'm coming up with another song. Planet of the Apes by George Rackett. Ooh ah, ooh ah, ooh ah, ooh ah. Chimp in outer space said goodbye to the human race, the first on Earth to ever escape, to find his very own personal planet of the apes. Ah-ooh, ah-ooh. Chimp in a rocket ship, the first primate on an interstellar trip, having a blast eating bananas and grapes on his very own personal planet of the apes. Ah-ooh, ah-ooh. He won't send a letter home because he don't know how to write. He was only trained to fly $1 million rocket into a suborbital space flight. Chimp among the stars. He's not gonna land on Jupiter or Mars. Get coordinates set for just one place. It's his very own personal planet of the apes. Ah-ooh, 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 ah-ooh. And that is where we will leave part 1 of Spacebound by Tom Fletcher. I'll be back soon with the next part of this fantastic story and loads more stories and videos coming your way very soon. If you'd like to subscribe or hit a like, that's always appreciated. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.